All right, students, here we go. We're getting started. We're going to start with our first video, and it's on this thing called perspective, and we're going to watch a young man named Wyatt try the perspective stick, and then we're going to have a good conversation about perspective.
Wyatt, my man, this here's my perspective stick. In just a sec, I'm going to hand it to you. I'm going to give you a chance in front of this whole school to sit down with that. Now, you cool? Cool. All right. Now, this ain't no joke. I promise you, I've had 5 kids since I've been doing this sit down with one of them babies. 5. So this ain't no joke. It's possible. Say, it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah. I like this guy already. Now, Wyatt, I'm going to hand you this stick. You're going to put it on 2 fingers. When I say go, you're going to let go. Now, that's all you got to do, my man. But you got to do it on the first try. Which try?
First try.
Perfect. Now, Wyatt, my man, if you can balance the perspective stick on the first try for a whopping 10 seconds, how many?
10.
I promise you, I'll give you that $100 bill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go. 2 fingers.
Yeah, he's here though.
There you go. All right, now hold up. Now, when I say go, now Wyatt, my man, 2 things are going to happen here when I say go. Number 1, I'm going to count slow. That's a lot of money. All right, but I'm going to count slow, but I promise you I'll keep going. My point is, don't stop. Just keep moving your feet, keep going. All right, it's going to be more like 11 or 12, but I promise I'll say 10 if you get there. All right? Now, here's the only rule, Wyatt. Number 2, you see where your fingers meet that stick? You can't take your eyes off that spot. That has to be your perspective. All right? Now, you look right here. If you move your eyes, I snatch the stick, game over, no money. You keep them there the whole time. I promise you I'll take that $100 bill out, I'll give it to you, and you sit down. If not, you do the walk of shame with nothing. All right? Here we go. You ready? Here we go. On your mark. Get set. Get set. Oh, you got a good mama, man. I like that. You got a mean mom. All right, here we go, Wyatt. I'm not playing this time. You ready? Don't take your eyes off that spot. I'm going to watch your eyeballs. On your mark, get set, go. 1, 2. I've never had anybody fall off this stage before. Students, educators, I want you all to watch what happens this time when Wyatt changes his perspective. The way he's looking at the puzzle. In less than a second, in the blink of an eye, the game changes only because he shifts his perspective. No money this time, my man. But when I say go this time, my man, in the blink of an eye, in less than a second, I want you to change your perspective and look at the top of the stick. On your mark, get set, go. And you'll see that my man Wyatt can probably balance that stick all day long. Only because...
All right, students, we just saw our friend Wyatt there get an amazing lesson on perspective. Now, don't be afraid to, if you have a perspective stick, to let someone try it at the beginning of every single class. It's a good way to start. It's a good activator to start your circle with. But now let's talk deeply about perspective, Coach. Let's talk about what this thing called perspective is. You know, for me, it's very important that I understand that even my own perspective can change in the blink of an eye. All too often, we spend a lifetime looking at the wrong end of the stick when it's really easy just to open up our perspective. But that really happens by listening to other people. And you kind of taught me this, Coach, because you changed your perspective years ago as an educator.
Well, I think button number 1 became perspective because of this story. When we first started Sweethearts and Heroes, about a decade, a little longer than 10 years ago, I decided to collect some data and do some research. So I surveyed my students on what they thought about bullying. And one student early in the day, I think it was like first or second period, said, it's just joking around. And at the end of the day, I had a kid say, it's a matter of life and death. So you can see some really big differences in perspectives. There's a huge spectrum there of how kids view this thing called bullying. So I knew right then and there we had to start shifting perspectives.
That's right. So let's start with a couple general questions. Let's not worry about bullying and what makes something bullying. Let's just talk about perspective. So facilitator, educator, or even a student, why don't you get the conversation started with some kind of general thing like, what do you think perspective is? What's your perspective? Or you could even ask a specific question and see how everyone's perspective is different. So get started, conversation on perspective. Remember, the only person that talks is the one that has the talking piece. Everybody else, start your listening skills. Get started.